Hello, Mr. Minard again. I'd like to introduce you to another power tool that you guys get to use this semester. This power tool is called a drill press. You'll be using this tool this semester for drilling holes into your stock and into your projects. Okay, just like any other tool in my shop, you need to have my permission before you use the machine. Or specifically, you need to make sure that you have had the instructions on how to safely use the machine and that you've also passed my safety test. The drill press, similar to the bandsaw, you also need to remove jewelry, eliminate loose clothing, and confine long hair. Okay, so the jewelry can get caught up in the chuck. This is called the chuck. It can get caught up in the bit, the drill bit, and same with loose clothing. So you want to make sure that your sleeves are pulled to your elbows. You don't have any loose cloth bracelets or anything on your wrist that's going to get pulled in here. And long hair especially. You want to make sure that your long hair, if you have long hair, that you put that in a hair tie as well. If you were to get hair caught around here, the hair would wrap around fairly quickly. Okay, so definitely take care of long hair, confine it. Okay, you want to make sure all guards are in place and operating correctly. Some drill presses come with a guard that kind of covers the chuck. This particular one does not have a guard on it, so just be extra careful not to come into contact with any of the moving parts here. Okay, always use proper eye protection and avoid distractions. Okay, so again, you want to make sure that you have safety glasses when you're using this machine, and always avoid distractions, both physical and mental distractions. Be focused on what you're doing. Okay, any adjustments that you need to make sure that the power is off. This machine does have a lot of adjustments. There's a table adjustment. I'll probably need to help you with that. It's a pretty heavy table, but we can adjust the height of it. But again, you want the power off. We can also adjust how far we drill into our stock. And so there's an adjustment on the left-hand side over here. It's called a depth adjustment. And so any of those kind of adjustings that you do, make sure the power is turned off. Okay, the table should be secure before using, so make sure this is nice and sturdy. You also want to select the proper drill type for each job. Okay, so right now what we have in there is called a twist drill bit. That's the most common type that you've probably seen. So we'll be using that primarily in this class, but there are other types. This is called a Forstner bit. This is a really cool bit you can use when we get to the CO2 dragster project. This is great for hollowing out wood to make it lighter. We also have a spade bit or paddle bit. Goes by both names, so it's another type. Also, drill bits come in a lot of different types of metal, depending on what you're drilling through. So always select the proper drill type before drilling. Okay, to avoid injury, always remove the chuck key immediately after use. Okay, so this is the chuck. This is what holds the bit. The chuck key is attached to the side. Okay, this is the chuck key. This is what we use to loosen and tighten the drill bit. Okay, so this will actually fit into the chuck. It's keyed. It's got a gear on there. Okay, so righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So since I already have a bit in there, if I go lefty-loosey, it will loosen the chuck and allow the bit to be removed. Okay, so when we insert a bit, okay, so we've got the smooth part of the drill bit right here. That's the part you want to clamp on. You don't want to clamp onto the actual cutting part of the bit. Okay, so we can insert this into the chuck. And you can kind of tighten it by hand first, and then go ahead and tighten the chuck. I like to tighten it on all three sides, just so I know it's extra tight. What I'm saying is you don't want to leave that in there. If you forget to take that out and you turn it on, this is going to fly and hurt somebody. So make sure that the chuck key always is removed from the chuck, and there's a place for it on the side of the machine. All right, so you want to make sure that you hold material securely with vise or clamps. So whatever we're drilling, so in a little bit I'm going to drill a hole into this piece of wood, and you want to make sure that your wood or your stock is clamped. So I've got a special clamp specifically for the drill press, and you can adjust it. So right now it's a little bit too loose. Okay, so if we go righty-tighty on this adjustment on the back, okay, we keep going until it feels like a tight clamp. Just like that, should snap into place. So now my stock is nice and secure. Okay, you want to keep your hands away from the revolving spindle, the chuck, the drill, and the chips. So any moving parts, anything like that, you want to keep your hands away from them. Also the bit, after you've been drilling for a while, because of friction, the bit's going to get really, really hot. and you can actually burn your skin really bad if you touch a hot bit. So keep your hands away from the moving parts. I also mentioned the chips too, so like the sawdust and stuff. Sawdust isn't terribly bad, but if you're drilling into metal, metal splinters hurt really bad, so you would actually use like a brush to brush away the chips rather than blowing it. Don't blow the sawdust or anything like that. So keep your hands away from it. Use a brush to brush it away. I've got an example of a brush here. Okay, so here's an example. You can brush away your chips using a brush like that. All right, so you want to operate the feed handle so that the drill cuts evenly into work. So this is your feed handle. Okay, so it's going to go hand over hand, and you just want to kind of go evenly into the wood. Don't force the cut. If you go too hard, it'll burn. It'll wear down the bit. You'll get a good feel for what you're drilling, and so nice and steady. All right, after holes are drilled, you want to slowly return the feed handle to the up position. What you don't want to do is you don't want to let it slam. So it is actually spring loaded in here. So when you're bringing the drill bit down, you just go hand over hand. Okay. But then when you're done, okay, don't let go because it could slam up and you'll cause damage in here. So just go hand over hand, going back nice and slow. Okay. The drill press should be at a dead stop before attempting to remove the work. All right, so we'll turn the power off when we're done. Make sure that the drill bit's completely stopped before you remove the clamp and take away your work. Okay, if a workpiece does get caught in the drill, you want to turn off the power. Do not attempt to stop it by hand. So sometimes, if you're like drilling into a knot or something in the wood, sometimes it can get stuck and it can break loose from your clamp. And so this thing starts spinning around. What you don't want to do is try to stop it by hand. So you just want to make sure you turn the power off, wait till it comes to a complete stop. Then you can rotate your stock in a counterclockwise direction and it should come right off. Okay, never walk away from the drill press when it is still running. Okay, that goes for any power tool. And then when you're done, you turn it off, make sure it comes to complete stop, and then you can go ahead and clean your work area and remove your stock from the clamp. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and drill a hole into this piece of wood. So one of the first things that you'll need to do is adjust the depth stop adjustment. It's on the other side here. You can adjust it so that this only goes to the desired depth. So if you wanna go all the way through, I usually recommend going through the bottom of the stock maybe about 1/4 of an inch. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead with the power off. I'm gonna go ahead and lower this down and make sure that the drill bit is going to go through my stock. Okay, it's actually already preset to 1/4, but I could adjust it. We could go deeper if we wanted to, or if I only wanted to go halfway into the wood, I could actually change the adjustment so that it stops right there. But I wanna go all the way through, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this so that it'll go about 1/4 inch through the bottom of the stock. All right, so once that's adjusted, okay, then you can go ahead and move the stock to where you want to drill the hole, and then we'll go ahead and clamp it in place so it doesn't move. Okay, you can lower it down to make sure that that's where you want the hole to be drilled. All right, I'll go ahead and hit the start button. Push to turn on. All right, and as we're drilling, we drill hand over hand. At a nice moderate rate. Don't go too fast, it'll burn. Or don't go too slow, it'll also burn. Okay. Automatically stops because I had the depth stop adjustment. So now, when you turn it, hand over hand, don't let it slam up. Okay. Push the stop button, wait to come to a complete stop, and we can release our clamp. And to release it, you just have to squeeze this little tab right here. All right, and then we can dump the sawdust on the floor, and we can wipe away any chips that were left behind using the brush. All right, and there we go. And now we have a nice hole drilled into our stock.